So this is a stretching and mobility routine with a little bit of strength that is focused primarily on the hips. You won't need anything, I'm just going to do this on the grass, no special implements, just a bit of space. Let's get into it. Alright, let's get nice and comfy on one bent knee here, with the other leg out front with the foot on the floor. Now if you can, lift the back foot up off the floor and try and capture the back foot with the hand of the opposite side. But if that's already too difficult, go ahead and lay on the floor on your side, the same side as the leg you're holding. That will make things a whole lot easier. If you are up on your knees, you can either stay there or begin twisting away from the stretched leg and use your spare arm to create a little bit of leverage there. Now the real secret here that I'll let you in on is to push against the hand with the foot. So imagine you're pressing your back foot away from your butt against your hand. If you do that, you're going to get a really nice deep stretch in the quads and perhaps a little bit in the hip flexors. Alright, let's do a little switcheroo here. So we'll switch to the left leg now. So whilst we're holding this stretch, I want you to go through a couple of efforts of pressing the back foot against the hand, maybe for 5 to 8 seconds. And by doing that, you should really feel the quads light up with a nice deep stretch along the front of your thigh. Don't forget, this isn't a passive stretch. We're not just holding this here. We're actively pressing against the hand with the back foot and also simultaneously twisting around with our upper body as we breathe out. Okay, our next move is all about the adductors, so that's the inside of your thighs. We're going to start with the right leg out sideways with the knee straight and the foot planted solidly on the floor. From here, we're going to slowly pan across in this nice sweeping move where we're really just exploring the comfortable range of the hips here. It's important that you keep some body weight in that foot that is out wide, so try and press through that foot into the ground there, especially as you move your chest in that direction. You can see throughout this move that I'm sometimes keeping my hand on my rib cage, and that's a great way of reminding yourself not to cave through the ribs and your mid-back. You want to keep that section of your spine as straight as possible, so follow along at least as slowly as me. I'll leave you to focus now and do your thing. Enjoy. Alright, let's switch to the other side. So we'll kick that left leg out now, and let's get into those adductors. Now you might be a little uncomfortable, especially in the internal rotation, so I want to remind you that pain, as a general rule, is never good. However, pain is also relative. Maybe what you're experiencing is a dull ache, like muscular discomfort. In that case, it's pretty normal, so don't worry. But if it's a sharp pinching, you want to ease off to a range where you're maybe still pretty uncomfortable, but there's no sharp pinching. You also want to relax as much as possible. So remember to breathe deeply and slowly and pay attention to what you're feeling in the hips. Okay, we're going to move up into stretching the groin now with this COASSACK hand walk. Cossack squats aren't easy, especially after a bit of a hike. So what we can do to make things a little more accessible is just walking the hands from side to side in order to take some of that load off the hips. So just let your hips guide your movement from side to side here, trying to get a little deeper into that Cossack squat on each rep. If you're feeling comfortable, you can take your feet wider. And if you're feeling really tight in the ankles, then it might be worth just placing something underneath your heels for now. That's going to make things a lot more accessible. You'll see that over the next few reps, I rely less and less on my hands and I move into a more upright position, placing more weight and more load into my hips and my lower body. So you can either come along with me if you're feeling like a challenge, or just keep doing what you're doing. That's great too. Keep walking those hands across from side to side in your Cossack squat. Alright, we can relax there, and this next one is going to be a bit of a rest for the body compared to that last sequence. But what this next one does require is a lot of mental focus, because we're going to get deep into the psoas, or what's commonly referred to as the hip flexor. So we'll come down into this deep lunge position that you might be familiar with, placing your hands in front of you for support on the floor. That back leg, we want to get that as far back as you can comfortably. And for now, you can just go ahead and rest the knee on the ground. The key with this mobility drill is to visualize lengthening the body from the top of your head all the way back to your back heel. So as you lift the knee gently off the ground, think about driving the heel backwards away from you, while simultaneously lifting your hips slightly, lengthening through your ribs, your torso, and pushing your head as forward as far as you can without the heel coming along for the ride. Imagine you trying to push your head and your heel as far away as they could possibly be from one another. And that's really all that's it to it. It's a very subtle movement, but we're going to practice a few times on each side to hopefully tune in and stretch the psoas under a little bit more load. But you should be feeling the stretch right in the front of your hip and perhaps deep into the abdomen where the psoas attaches to your lumbar spine. And like I said, this takes focus and a little bit of trial and error. So with each rep, alter the position of the knee slightly and go exploring. Look for that psoas and you'll know when you've got it. It should feel really good, because I can just about guarantee that this muscle is tight. Alright, let's switch to the other side and get deep into that right psoas. So make those subtle changes to the height of the knee, and when you think you've located the psoas, that's the time to start driving the heel backwards slightly and simultaneously lengthen through the abdomen, torso, and think about driving the top of your head further away from the heel. Alright, for our final movement to tie all of this together, we're going to perform the kid sit. So splay your feet out so your ankles are just about flat on the floor. Place your hands on the ground and bend your knees, send your hips backwards. Go back as far as you can comfortably, hold for a second or so, and then rock forwards again for a little bit of a rest. As you gain more control and strength, you'll be able to raise up and lower down without the aid of your hands by pressing into the floor with the feet, and you'll be able to control this movement, but it does take a little bit of time and practice. This is perhaps one of the best movements that really demonstrates the full ability of the hips and the knees, and it's a great benchmark to keep for the health and the ability of those joints. We're going to repeat this movement to gain more hip and knee ability with the eventual aim of getting your butt to sit flat on the floor between your ankles and knees. I call this the kid sit because it's something that I used to be able to do quite comfortably as a kid, but as an adult I've lost this range of motion slowly over time, and it's time to get it back. At the end of these 10 reps or so, we're going to aim to sit back as far as we can, and a yoga block or a pillow underneath the butt here might be very helpful. But if you've been at this routine for a while and you feel like you're capable of spending some time in that lower position, then go ahead and gently move into it. Remember to relax, imagine breathing deeply into your hips, and don't panic or force anything. Let gravity do its thing and place some trust in your body. If you do feel like this is too much, simply press your hands into your feet and lift yourself back up at any time. Okay, so no matter where you're at, find a position in the kid sit which gives you relative comfort with a little bit of stretch, and let's tune in and enjoy the sounds of nature for a minute or two. So I hope you enjoyed that. It is not a beginner hip mobility routine. It is something that you will have to work towards, but if you are struggling with this stuff, even just getting into these positions, I would recommend doing the daily movement routine for hikers as a doorway to kind of build up to this one. Your hips are absolutely going to love it. Just have patience, it will come with time. By the way, how beautiful is this place? I'm out here hiking for 3 or 4 days. There's no one around. It's a Tuesday. It's the best. I got this whole place to myself. Absolutely paradise. Check out the vlog that I did of this trip. I'll leave it here. Peace.